Hello, my name is Wayne Virambelski, and this is the fourth in a segment of Walks Through the Cathedral. And we start here, the third shrine in the cathedral, dedicated here to Our Lady of Częstochowa. This is a copy of an icon that is in southern Poland in a shrine there, and legend has it that that painting was done upon the wooden table from the home in Nazareth, the home of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and that it was done by St. Luke. You can see there are some slashes on the face of Mary here. Those were done by some invaders at the time who came to Poland to carry off as many valuables as they could. And what they couldn't carry off, they tried to destroy. We are now in the Cathedral Chapel, Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament. Blessed Sacrament because it is very near the tabernacle, where persons can come and pray in proximity to the tabernacle. A chapel is different than a church. Chapels are oftentimes in another building or attached to another building. Here we have the altar, and the chapel seats 94 persons, and we gather here for weekday masses, small funerals or weddings, and different kinds of prayer services too. Here in the chapel, we have a wonderful representation of the Last Supper, that meal Jesus had before he suffered and died and rose. And he is gathered here with all 12 of the apostles, and seated at the front, seated at the table, where he says those famous words, "Amen, amen, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have life, you have no life in me." Here we have the chapel organ built in Europe, in the Netherlands by the Flintrop Company. The company came into existence in 1903, and this is a one manual, one keyboard organ, pipe organ, and fits the chapel so very well in sound and in size. We also have here another piece of religious art, sacred art. Here we have the depiction of the burning bush, that bush that was on fire but not consumed. And here the bush has copper-colored flames, and it also has, the bush has like flowers, but each of the flowers has an opening in it, a void, and that's where the voice of God was heard by Moses. The bush spoke to Moses. And the bush has 7 different metals that were used in this metal sculpture. And again, 7 is that important number for us too, a number of completion. This is the Blessed Sacrament Chapel, and the windows here are special to this chapel. Instead of the blue of the cathedral, we have here the wheat colors in these windows here. And we have kind of stalks of wheat. And although it's not so visible right now because it's daylight, but in the evening, when the sun sets, these clear panels turn white, milky white. And that is the color, that is the representation of manna, that Old Testament Eucharist, that Old Testament bread that fed the Israelites as they made their way through the desert. This is the fourth shrine in the Cathedral of St. Mary. This shrine is dedicated to Bishop Frederick Barraga. And Bishop Barraga, in a certain sense, could be our very own first bishop of our diocese, even before we were a diocese. He came as a priest to our area in about 1830, and he came to minister to the Odawa tribe that was centered around like Cross Village, Petoskey, Harbor Springs, in that area. He came as a priest. And then he came back a second time, but as a bishop. When he came the first time, he focused in the area here around Cross Village, Good Heart, and made his way then into the Upper Peninsula. And that second presence with us here, he was by this time a bishop. And he was the first bishop of the Upper Peninsula. When he came, it was first called the Diocese of Sault Ste. Marie. And that's here. But then, after a time, it became called the Diocese of Marquette. In the window here, in this faceted glass window, we have a picture here of a Native American and with the cross of Christ above. For Bishop Barraga came here, the snowshoe priest he was called, to bring faith and the teaching of our religious tenets to the Native Americans. Our first official bishop is Edmund Casimir Shoka, pictured here. And talking about coat of arms now, here we have the shield. Well, first of all, let me say this. This green hat called a gayo is the symbol of a bishop. And green is actually the color of bishop. And we know he's a bishop by the color green and also by the number of these tassels, fiocchi in Italian. And the presence of this cross here, which looks also like a sword, and the motto. Those are part of each coat of arms. Bishop Shoka's motto was to live in faith. The shield, the center part of this, always has two parts. It has the diocesan part and it has the personal part. The diocesan part is made up of this wavy line here, which is also found in the coat of arms of the Diocese of Grand Rapids, where Bishop Shoka was born. The two stars are from the Carmelite order, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Carmelites. They can also represent the two dioceses that ceded land to make the Diocese of Gaylord, the Diocese of Saginaw and the Diocese of Grand Rapids. This roof here has to do with Gaylord being the city with the highest elevation in the Lower Peninsula. The wavy border also very likely is the shoreline that outlines our diocese, the shore of Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and the Straits of Mackinac. It's also been said that that white border is the snow that covers our diocese for about 9 months of each year. This is Bishop Shoka's personal side here. The fleur-de-lis, the lily flower, and those nails are found in the Diocese of Marquette, where he ministered and where he came from before becoming Bishop of Gaylord. The crown with the arrows, that's a symbol of Edmund, Saint Edmund. And this crest here is a symbol of Saint Casimir. So, now, when Bishop Szoka left here to become Archbishop of Detroit, he took this with him. That stays with him. But then that is melded with the Diocese of Detroit. So that became a unique coat of arms for him in Detroit. This document here is on parchment, the real thing, and it says, Paul, Bishop, servant of the servants of God, dear son Edmund C. Szoka, guess what? You are now the Bishop of the Diocese of Gaylord. And it goes on in eloquent Latin to explain everything, and it's made official by this lead seal. So this parchment was all beautifully written out and then rolled up, and then it was tied with a gold cord, gold of course being a papal color, and then it was sealed with this lead seal. And that seal is called a bulla, so that when the Pope writes something important and seals it up, he seals it with this bulla called a papal bull. That's where we get that name. On the front of the bulla is the raised picture of Peter and Paul. On the back of it, we would see the image or the likeness of the bishop or the Pope that actually sent that. And bulla is Latin word for blob. After 10 years with Bishop Szoka, our second bishop came from the Diocese of Grand Rapids, Robert Rose, second bishop of Gaylord. And his coat of arms is very simply the heraldic rose, plain and simple. And his motto is, "In the name of the Lord." And he was with us for 8 years. And then he was made Bishop of Grand Rapids and went back to his home diocese for another 4 years. Interesting to note that he was named bishop on the 13th of October, Bishop of Gaylord. And he retired 12 years later, right to the day, 13th of October, in Grand Rapids. The third bishop of the Diocese of Gaylord, Patrick Cooney, came to us already as a bishop. He was an auxiliary bishop for the Archdiocese of Detroit. And Bishop Cooney came and stayed with us for 23 years. And he died also in our diocese as Bishop of Gaylord. He was here for 23 years. Now his coat of arms, we see all the familiar things. Here perhaps even more vivid, we see the 5 gems that are put here, and they are remarkable for the 5 wounds of Christ. On the bishop's personal side of the shield, we have 2 sparrows. They come from his mother's side of the family, from their family crest, and the swallows are known to be faithful, returning always to the same place, faithful in navigation. And here we see the hand from his father's coat of arms, from his father's, the Cooney side of the family, and that is the faithful hand. Again, the whole concept of fidelity and faithfulness. And it became part of Bishop Cooney's motto, forever faithful. Actually, his mother's motto for their crest was Fidelem usque ad mortem, faithful unto death. Remarkable here too is the wonderful crozier, that bishop's staff that he walks with and supports himself. It was made from driftwood that was that came from the shores of, I don't remember whether it's Lake Michigan or Lake Huron, and was crafted into a wonderful crozier, and carvings were made of those three important early saints. We have Father Marquette, Bishop Barraga, and Kateri Tekakwitha. The fourth bishop of Gaylord, Bishop Hebda, came to us from his home diocese was Pittsburgh. And in his coat of arms, we have the seven-pointed star, which is a symbol of Mary, and it's blue. On the bottom here, we've got this checkerboard pattern, and that is from the Diocese of Pittsburgh. The tree here is their elderberry tree. The elderberry tree comes from a region in Poland where his family originated. And Bishop Hebda was with us for 4 years. And here we have our present bishop, who's been with us nearly for 6 years, Bishop Stephen Reka. And we met his coat of arms on the back of the cathedral in an earlier walk through the cathedral. And his coat of arms also has two elements, one from his mother's side of the family and one from his father's side. A tree that grows in the a part of Italy where his mother's family is from, and there is a sunburst that comes from the portion of Poland where his father comes from, and then the hat that's in the middle is the crown. That's the symbol of Stephen, which is Bishop Stephen Reka's namesake. To finish up here in the wall of bishops here, we notice this window in this area here, and magically it combines both window sets. It has the blue from the cathedral windows, and it has some of the same design and those white panels in here from the Blessed Sacrament chapel. Thank you for coming along on our walk through the cathedral. And we've taken our walk outside the cathedral here, gathered in front of the entrance to the cathedral and in front of the bell tower. The bell tower that calls us to worship, calls us to prayer, signals the Angelus, rings the hours. And I'm very grateful today to Kelly Lauster and also for Shannon O'Connor for their for all the support, tech support and other support they've given in putting this together. Thank you for your attention.